Really, no, I think they're all very good candidates. I think probably it's going to be Kemi. That's my gut feeling, but we shall see.
Well, she was overwhelmingly popular with the party membership last time, and they completely went elsewhere, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they probably felt that she hadn't got enough experience at that point. But now, of course, she's done some time as a business and trade secretary, and I think she's done very well at that. Who are the other candidates? Well, we've got Mel Stride, who I think was a very good member, chair of the Treasury Select Committee. However, he's saying he wants to be the unity candidate, which kind of makes me think that's not going to work, because I don't think what the party needs now is unity.
OK.
I think it needs an attack dog. I think they're in opposition now. They need somebody who can really take the fight to Labour. And I think Kemi at the dispatch box has already shown she can do that.
OK.
And, of course, the other thing, being a black female Tory party leader, will really annoy Labour. And I don't think there's any harm in that, because, you know, they've never even had a woman leader, let alone a woman and a black leader as well.
OK,
so that's another way in which I think she can wind them up.
An attack dog, Nigel. I mean, look, what is absolutely true about Kemi Badenoch is that she isn't afraid to have confrontation. She doesn't shy away from it. And she's always very well informed before she goes into a fight. So it's always good to watch, you know.
I agree with all that.
And do you think that she does now have the experience? Do you think that those concerns have kind of faded away?
Well, you know, as you wouldn't be surprised to know, I'm not a Conservative Party member and I don't have a vote in this particular election. I think the problem with Kemi and the problem with Robert Jenrick is this idea that the Tories must swing to the right. They've just been defeated by a left-of-centre party overwhelmingly. The idea they think that the answer to this is to go further right seems to be absolute nonsense.
Well, so, you don't think that the voters are getting frustrated that the Conservative Party are no longer Conservative?
Well, they rejected them so monumentally last time.
Oh.
And did they reject them because they were too left-wing? I would have thought that's pretty unlikely.
Suzanne is very much
be more wrong,
Suzanne's mumbling over there.
Why do you think the electorate deserted them in droves, and particularly their typical support base?
Because it felt to me like 1997 all over again, when the Conservatives had failed so utterly and so abjectly and had become, in a sense, so complacent about their electorate and were doing such a bad job that people voted for Tony Blair, who I have to say was a much more charismatic leader, I think, than Keir Starmer was, which is probably why he only got 20% of the vote in real terms. If you look at the number of people who actually bothered to turn up to vote, Labour only got 20%, actually. But it feels like 1997. It wasn't that the Tories lost the election. It was that Labour won it because the Tories were so bad. Well, sorry, the Tories did lose the election. I'm getting myself muddled up here. You know, they actually caused Labour to win. I don't think a lot of people who voted Labour this time really wanted to be Labour. I don't think they're particularly left-wing, and I think you're utterly wrong. The Tories lost support because they weren't right-wing enough.
I think one of the
they were practically Labour.
We've seen,
what was the difference?
Nigel, that clearly from the last two results, the fact that you had Tories with an 80-seat majority, this time you have Labour, 412 seats, but ultimately it means that all votes are always up for grabs now. You can't rely on there being left-wing voters and right-wing voters. What we've seen very much is you've got to win the argument. Don't you think, though, that someone like Kemi Badenoch, who's popular with the electorate, is that person?
Well, she may be popular with the Tory party electorate. I don't think she's necessarily popular with the electorate as a whole. And the point I'm making there is that if the Tories carry on the infighting, and that's what happens if you have Kemi Badenoch and Robert Jenrick doing it, you're going to have a problem. Priti Patel has an opportunity, if we're looking for a candidate who might break through the middle, has the opportunity of actually unifying both the right and the left and getting the votes of the membership. Now, I know she had a checkered career at the Home Office, but at the moment, if you look at the various candidates who are there, you either go Tom Tugendhat, left-wing, although his leaving the ECHR thing has been odd.
That's nice.
Or you go Mel Stride, James Cleverly there, safe pair of hands. Then you've got Priti. You may have the attack dog that, in fact, Suzanne is just talking about.
That's a good point that Nigel makes, is that that Priti Patel does fall into that category of attack dog, insofar as, you know, she's pretty candid.
Yeah, she does. She does, actually, and I think, again, she'd be a very good candidate, and again, probably annoy Labour for the same reasons that I said that Kemi would as well. So it's interesting. No, I'm not a member of the Conservative Party either, so I think both me and Nigel are talking about things that we've not really got any skin in the game, but of course we've both got skin in the game about how our country turns out and how it's run over the next, if not this 5 years, then the next 5 years.
We've all got skin in the game insofar as if this person is going to be the future Prime Minister. It does affect us all, doesn't it?
Which is unlikely.
And I think
they probably won't go through all the way through to the next election.
Well, let's see, but mean, I'd be very interested as well to see what you think of Tom Tugendhat and James Cleverly as possible candidates as well.
Nigel said he's very left-wing, so I don't think Tom Tugendhat would be my kind of Prime Minister, Tory party leader. He says he's going to leave the ECHR. This has completely come out of the blue. This is not something he's ever said before.
I think he would define himself as left-wing.
He wouldn't, no. But I think there's a huge amount of, I think, cynicism about that statement among the Conservative Party membership, as far as I can see. But I honestly think the others are all good candidates, really. Robert Jenrick, I think, is very sound. Yeah. I think James Cleverly is very sound. I campaigned with him during the time of the EU referendum. We were both on the side of Brexit. He was utterly brilliant.
Yeah, so I mean, this is actually good news for the Tory parties insofar as, all of these candidates seem to have their merits.
Oh, yeah, I'm not suggesting that they don't. I just don't think that any of them will actually go through to be the leader come election time. This is a temporary leader for the middle for this particular period. What the Tory party have to do is work out what they want to be. That's the job of the new leader.
Can I ask you as well, just the point that Suzanne raised earlier, which I think is very interesting in terms of identity politics, which is something that Labour like to talk about. Having a black woman as Prime Minister, as the leader of your party, it does put them streets ahead from anything that Labour have ever achieved.
Yeah, I mean, Labour haven't had a woman yet, and I think that the next leader ought to be a woman, whether that will be a black woman or an Asian woman, whatever. But I think Labour certainly needs a woman. And yes, you're right, that the one thing the Tory party have done, we've just had a Prime Minister of Asian heritage. I mean,
it should be on merit. Obviously, it should always be on merit.
I think that's the difference, actually, between the Conservatives and Labour. I think Labour were the ones that wanted all-female shortlists. They're the ones that do it not on merit, whereas the Conservatives...
Yeah, I was against that one.
Not entirely
OK, well...
true, but, I think it should be merit, as you say.